The bureau elevator has no button for 0. The camera still records the doors opening there. This is an original fictional case file from the Bureau of Lost Signals, reconstructed from archive notes, corrupted recordings, and evidence photographs that do not agree with each other. A building records a room that should not physically fit inside it. The file does not begin with a monster. It begins with an elevator log for a floor with no button, ordinary enough to be ignored until the timestamps start contradicting the room. The night guard says the elevator felt smaller on the return trip, as if it had left part of the room behind. The impossible detail is architectural. The room appears only after the camera timestamp has already been written. The proof object is a maintenance badge that unlocks a door the building plans deny. The audio contains footsteps that continue after the hallway video cuts to black. The service corridor is 15 meters long on the plan and 23 meters long on tape. The room log exists in the archive, but every visitor name is redacted before anyone opens the file. By the second review pass, the Bureau had 3 copies of the same event. One came from the live recorder. One came from a sealed cabinet. One came from a source that should not have been able to transmit anything at all. Room 0 is not a place in the Bureau. It is a place the Bureau becomes when the record needs a witness. The case rule is simple. The door appears only when someone has already been recorded entering it. The visual evidence looks boring until it does not. Dust on a table, a light in a window, a needle moving without a hand near it. That restraint is why the case stayed open. Nothing performs for the camera. The room simply changes its mind. The coordinate is not geographic. It is a timestamp plus an elevator direction. That is where room 0 stops being a location and becomes a test. Every instrument points somewhere plausible. Every human statement points somewhere else. The evidence board splits into 3 columns. The first column is mechanical. Serial numbers, room temperature, timestamps, custody marks. The second column is human. What the night staff heard, what they refused to write down, and which light stayed on after the recorder stopped. The third column is the one the Bureau never shows publicly, because it tracks what changed after each replay. On the first replay, an elevator log for a floor with no button behaves like damaged equipment. On the second, it behaves like a transmitter. On the third, it behaves like a witness correcting the official record. That progression matters because it turns a strange object into a chain of custody problem. The Bureau isolates the file in a clean room. No network, no wireless card, no external speaker, and a fresh recorder with a blank index. The sound still arrives with the same low pressure under it, but the silence around the sound is different, as if the new room has been added to the recording. One analyst marks the moment the case stops being passive evidence. It is not the loudest moment. It is not the most frightening moment. It is a tiny delay before the next tone. A pause just long enough to feel like the file is waiting for the Bureau to catch up. The physical scene around room 0 never becomes spectacular. That is what makes it worse. No door slams, no impossible figure crosses the frame. The proof is smaller. A shadow that should belong to equipment that is not there. A meter needle settling before power returns. A tag number printed 1 line too early. The public reconstruction uses only the safest fragments, but even those fragments create a pattern. Every time the Bureau removes context to make the case easier to explain, the remaining evidence becomes more direct. The file seems to punish simplification. By mid-afternoon, the archive team tests a control phrase. They write down a sentence that is never spoken aloud. The next recording does not repeat the sentence. It does something worse. It leaves a gap exactly where the sentence would fit. That gap becomes the case's fingerprint. Not a voice, not a symbol, not a threat. An absence with consistent timing, carried from device to device, as if the missing part is the message. Room 0 is not hidden in the building. It appears when the archive needs somewhere to put a witness. The Bureau tried to reduce the file to equipment failure, but each clean room replay carried one extra detail from the room that had just played it. The public copy removes the worst part. The private copy keeps it. The event behaves less like a transmission and more like a memory deciding which machine should hold it next. The final still frame shows a second badge clipped to the inside of the door. The file is sealed as a Room 0 event with corridor-length drift marked for future cases. If the elevator opens again, the Bureau will not know whether it is entering the room or being filed by it. The next file begins when a camera records tomorrow's hallway before anyone walks through it.